Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Johnny Depp has won his defamation trial, according to social media. After what my own true crime channel has gone through over the past 48 hours, I began my research today with a simple Google search. Amber Heard, social media. I wasn't at all surprised to see these headlines. Johnny Depp stands declared him the clear winner in his defamation suit against Amber Heard even before she took the stand. Why is social media in favor of Johnny Depp in the Amber Heard defamation case? Johnny Depp Amber Heard's defamation trial is a social media circus. Social media activity shows Johnny Depp gaining sympathy in case against Amber Heard. Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, and the dangers of cancel culture. But the article that best articulated my experience of Depp versus Heard was this one from NBC News. What the memes about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial reveal. And the subheading to that article reads, quote, "The case should provide a sobering look at DV and how it affects both men and women. Instead, it's a circus." I'll deal with what I've observed on my own social media, which has been a lightning rod for the Depp mob. But first I want to talk about transactionality. The modern parlance is cancel culture. And interestingly, in September of last year, Johnny Depp was railing against cancel culture. I found a whole bunch of headlines from September 2021 where Johnny Depp, for example, said, one of them was Johnny Depp whines about cancel culture while getting fancy award. Johnny Depp says no one is safe from cancel culture. Johnny Depp says cancel culture is so far out of hand. And of course, this also comes up on the last day of the prosecution's case with technical forensics analyst and Hollywood insider Richard Marks, who testified that Amber Heard's op-ed created a cancel culture around Johnny Depp in Hollywood.
Have you formed any opinions in this case?
Yes.
Generally speaking, what is your opinion?
My general opinion is that the op-ed damaged Mr. Depp, created a cancel situation, if you will, harmed his reputation and his ability to get work in Hollywood industry.
Now, ironically, the op-ed that started this whole ruckus was titled, "I spoke up against something and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change." It would be remiss of me not to say that is exactly what Amber Heard is facing right now. Her culture, that is American culture's wrath. I know because I've been supportive of Amber Heard, and as a result, I've faced that same wrath. Since a few days ago when I covered Amber Heard's side of the story, just giving my honest assessment of it, my channel has been bleeding subscribers. Personally, I have to say I find the response to the Depp versus Heard trial far more scary and troubling than the details within the trial itself. And that is actually a comment I'm directing to some of you. And you know who you are if you're listening. I'm not just referring to how it's affected me, though. I'm talking about just how easy it is to fool, manipulate, and mess with reality. Just how easy it actually is to take a person and change their mind about something in spite of reality, in the face of reality. In a break from work, I rewatched Blade Runner 2049. There's a moment where the Replicant, that's a robot closely resembling a human being, is confronted with a company technician who is tasked with creating artificial memories for these machines. The idea is for the machines to have an authentic experience of the human experience of our reality, even though by design the entire process is artificial. And so what this scene does, the contrivance of this scene is quite interesting. It's this idea of how can we artificially create a reality for something that isn't even human, and also through that thought process, what is reality? And so the replicant asks in the dialogue of the movie what the secret is to making authentic memories. In other words, what is the secret to creating a reality, including for a person? Now listen to how the technician responds.
Can you tell us something really happened?
They all think it's about more detail, but that's not how memory works. You recall with our feelings. Anything real should be a mess.
We recall with our feelings. Well, we also think with our feelings. Social media and much of human psychology works the same way. As we've seen with the Depp trial, regardless of the defense case, and before Amber Heard even testified, the Court of Public Opinion declared Heard guilty and Depp innocent because they don't care about the details. They only care about their own feelings. When Amber Heard cries, her tears are photoshopped, and when she doesn't cry, she's ridiculed for that too. We'll come back to replicants and how they make sense of the messiness that we humans inhabit. The law is an inexact science, but it nevertheless employs elements of the scientific method, which is why you constantly hear lawyers bickering and objecting about things that can't be proven or demonstrated or supported by evidence. The law is intolerant of hearsay, but it's the stock and trade of social media. Social media is a cesspool made out of hearsay and little else. I've had blowhards coming onto my channel for the first time, claiming they've been with me for years, and my channel is barely 2 years old, claiming they are survivors of something or other, and they are now done with me and exhorting others to unsubscribe as they do. And that they'll obviously go on and leave the same comment over and over again saying, I'm unsubscribing. And because I'm a supporter of an abuser. And this is said and done not just once, but as I say, in a coordinated effort. And it's often the same person leaving a dozen or more of the same toxic comments. And obviously I see them, I'm aware of them, and I will obviously take note of them and the responses to them as well. What they don't realize is that I know my subscribers very well. I read most of the comments I get in the first day or two that every video goes up, and I respond to about a third of them. So I know when there are imposters and interlopers, and also know how to deal with them. The irony is that through this trial, history is repeating itself. Amber Heard's article reads, I spoke up against something and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. And that then brings me to Patricia Grisalfi, culture writer for NBC, who writes the following. I'm a survivor of you-know-what, and it's particularly damaging to see social media pylons focused on a woman who didn't even initially name the person who mistreated her. It reminds me that when women allege something like that mistreatment, they're often put through the ringer, famous or not, end quote. And that is exactly what has happened here. She goes on to say, quote, we don't know the truth in the situation. Both sides have made upsetting accusations. The problem is the reflexive assumption that Depp is being wronged, end quote. Well, it is entirely reflexive. It's based on a feeling, not on facts. And it feels more like a mechanism responding here than human beings. There's no critical thinking. Instead, there's this animal wolf pack that sniffs and howls and barks and snarls. The noises it makes are either to intimidate or to praise, to reinforce, but you can't call it real communication. It's just really a pack of wolves running around. And I have to say, since social media is infested with this, God save the jury wherever they are. Surely when the jury go home and pick up their phones, how on earth do they avoid hashtag justice for Johnny and hashtag Johnny Depp is innocent and hashtag Amber Heard is a turd? NBC's culture writer continues, quote, alongside the frightening level of sexism, there's a jocular vibe surrounding this case that's disturbing. These are two human beings talking about one of the darkest parts of their lives, and we're treating it as entertainment. I see that a lot in true crime, and I have to say, I've sat in a courtroom, I've reported from the courtroom, I've experienced the sober reality inside trials. These are murder trials. And also sometimes you hear people laughing in court, and it's like the judge has got to say, be quiet, listen. And if you continue misbehaving, you're going to be sent out of the court. I see it a lot in true crime, as if the wreckage of someone else's life is something to do commentary on while smiling. What happens in court is serious stuff, especially for those at the center of these cases. Well, apparently just not Johnny Depp, apparently. I don't know whether Johnny has lost touch with reality or whether we have. What do you think? Now back to this article. Quote, there's the willful conflation of an actor, Depp, with his most famous and beloved role, Captain Jack Sparrow, the charismatic pirate, blurring the lines between his real life and the public's fantasy.
To your finger.
My finger? I bruised it very badly. I ate it, I bit it off. I was starving. I was starving, I bit my finger. I ate it, the tip of it. Just a little.
And then she describes the toxic fandom gone amok as people mindlessly cheer on a man who has already lost a libel trial against the British tabloid The Sun after calling him a wife. So I'm constantly reminding those who come to my channel mindlessly cheering on a man that Johnny Depp has already lost twice in court. And that's in addition to Hollywood and Disney fighting against him as well. In other words, the corporate world fighting against him. Anyway, going back to the article, quote, it's disheartening and sickening to see the memification and commodification. DV is not funny. It shouldn't spur popularity contests. It shouldn't create an industry in which people are vending merchandise on Etsy, in which Rolling Stone reports that sellers are making items such as pins, t-shirts, and coffee mugs featuring the phrase, "Justice for Johnny." End quote. One of the aspects I see more and more coming to the fore in our society is this concept of transactionality. If Johnny is innocent, Amber has to be guilty. If Johnny is good, Amber has to be bad. If Amber is very, very bad, Johnny must be very, very good. In true crime, we see this sort of black-white, oversimplistic and highly reductionist thinking in, for example, the Chris Watts case, where he decides, I really want to be with this woman. I really want to be with this new person that I've met. But my wife and family are a threat to that. And so what should I do? So what does he do? He murders them, because in the mind of a simpleton where everything is black and white, that's how the transaction works. In order to get this, I have to get rid of that. Many in the true crime community called Watts a psychopath until they turned on the mistress. For many, the mistress is worse than the man who actually murdered his own family. But you've got to wonder, who's the real psychopath in this equation? Chris Watts, the mistress, all the people watching that don't really care really who the murderer is. And why do you think this is happening? Well, I'll tell you why, because facts don't matter, feelings do. Details don't matter, feelings do. Any politician can tell you that. No one understands this better than many of the cynical and opportunistic creators on YouTube. But I'm seeing that same psychopathy towards Amber Heard. Even while she's testifying, folks are rushing from one slur to the next and one judgment to the next. Let's quickly find a way to pretend that those aren't real tears. The tears are photoshopped, even though you can see them in the live feed. Well, some of us can. Whatever happened to listening? Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to that old-fashioned notion of when there's a court case and the judge is listening, the jury's listening, everyone in the court is listening, but everyone outside of the court aren't. Everyone in court is listening, but not the court of public opinion. The court of public opinion is drowning in its own cesspool of hearsay and noise. And they're too busy with that to actually listen. They're too busy with that to actually pay attention. And mostly it is little more than nonsense, but it's foolish to dismiss it as just that. It's also a cesspool of feelings, and that cesspool is a way to significance for some people and their feelings, a way for them to be acknowledged regardless of whether what they are saying is true. What they get is reinforcement from others feeling the same thing, and that's what matters to them. And that's how the thinking becomes blacker and whiter, and the mess they're trying to untangle over weeks at trial rendered uncompromising and ridiculously clear-cut. The article goes on to say, it shouldn't be a spectacle in which a woman shows up bringing two emotional support animals that sort of look like small llamas to the courthouse to cheer Depp up. It shouldn't prompt writers to publish articles with lines like, the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial is the entertainment we didn't know we needed in 2022. And then she talks about the memes, the many memes. Memes that involve feces and body parts and lewd references to the lurid testimony. And pretty much all of them putting Heard in a very unflattering light, like this one. The article goes on to say, although it's very possible that Depp and Heard both contributed to the circumstances of their partnership, social media users don't seem to want to consider this messiness. They seem to prefer the story about their pirate hero, the one who makes quips on the stand, the one who has entertained them for years and made their lives more enjoyable. And then this writer of this really excellent article, I'll put a link to it in the description, compares, she says if Depp is Jack Sparrow, then Amber Heard is the Amy Dunn from Gone Girl in the court of public opinion. If you're not sure what that means, Amy Dunn was one of the main characters and also the hidden main antagonist in Gone Girl. So in terms of the mythos of this film, she disappears on their 5th wedding anniversary, and that then leaves her husband Nick as the suspect. But as the plot goes on, it turns out that Amy may not be the innocent victim that she's believed to be. And this is how social media is basically sketching Amber Heard in the court of public opinion. And that brings us back to this idea of the nature of reality. Having written dozens of books about true crime, I see the same themes coming up repeatedly, not only in the criminal mind, but in the hive mind of social media. The swarms gravitate around self-reinforcing fairy tales, feel-good facts that aren't facts at all, because we are creatures of feeling and fairy tale, not reality and matters of fact. Even when dealing with the dry meat and potatoes realities of a trial, with evidence and testimony and experts, and all of that needs to be grounded in and anchored in reality, things that you can prove. None of that matters except our feelings. That's where we are post-pandemic, in the year 2022, as a war rages in Europe, and we've all but forgotten about that too. So what this video really is about is how we have lost touch with the nature of reality. We don't know what the nature of reality is. We don't know what the nature of our reality is. In other words, we don't know who we are. And so even less do we know the nature of someone else's reality. And that theme, that idea of not knowing the nature of your own reality is touched on so eloquently in this movie, Blade Runner 2049. We have a replicant that's not a human being, but it closely resembles one, feeling this Pinocchio urge to be a real boy. And so he goes to a memory maker, kind of an engineer, a software engineer in a way for robots, to find out whether a childhood memory is real or an implant. Did he actually experience this memory? Is he actually a real boy, or was the memory simply implanted into him? And he can't tell the difference. And so he goes to this engineer and she tells him, my talent is to maintain a stable product. My talent is to put memories into you, authentic memories, and then you're going to be stable, right? You're going to be realistic and effective in your life and in your work. And she says it's only kind to do that because replicants live such hard lives, made to do what we'd rather not. She says, I can't help your future, but I can give you good memories to think back on and smile. And I think a lot of that is what's going on with people, for example, watching this trial. They can't help their own futures, but they can give themselves good feelings about what's going on right now and smiling. It's almost like good memories that aren't real. Does that make sense?
Wallace needs my talent to maintain a stable product. I think it's only kind. Replicants live such hard lives, made to do what we'd rather not. I can't help your future, but I can give you good memories to think back on and smile.
It's nice.
It's better than nice. It feels authentic, and if you have authentic memories, you'll have real human responses.
And so the question arises, what are real human responses? And so the officer asks, how do you tell the difference? In other words, how do you tell the difference between real human responses and something that's not real? And so he asks, can you tell if something really happened? He's really asking her, how can you know if something really happened? And that's really, how do you interrogate memory and to know whether it's true or not? Now listen to her response.
They all think it's about more detail, but that's not how memory works. We recall with our feelings. Anything real should be a mess.
We are our memories, yes, but we are also our thoughts and feelings. It is neurologically impossible for thoughts to precede emotions. And so what happens is we have emotions first, then thoughts, and then feelings about those thoughts. And that's our reality. Sometimes emotions are built on thoughts, but the primary driver of our headspace is emotions and feelings, not rational thought. And emotional reality is what social media is, like it or not. But reality isn't feeling. The law isn't about feeling, and it shouldn't be. We are a mess, and social media is a mess. Social media shows just how messy and mixed up we are. Why? Because we've allowed ourselves to be. Because it is very much about our own narcissism and feeding the monster that is us collectively, all the while prodding fingers at somebody else and snarling that they, not us, are the narcissists. We live in an extremely narcissistic society. In such a society, all are narcissists. It's just a matter of extremes. Introspection in this extroverted, expressive, transactional culture seems not to exist. Instead, it all seems to be about extrospection, blame, wag your finger, decide something or other about somebody else's life, about somebody else's words. Look into someone else's life and play judge, jury, and executioner, and try to have some fun with all the other acolytes as you possibly can.